This video will provide a critical analysis of management of people and resources in a CLD organisation. Various theories of management and leadership will be explored and related to the CLD values and principles. The relevance of planning and organisation within management and practice will also be explored. Cole and Kelly state that every manager and business leader must consider the attainment of organisational goals and superior performance, and managers must also motivate employees whilst maintaining efficiency. They go on to say that leadership and management can have the same qualities, but it's not always the case. Leadership is about standing out, while management is largely bureaucratic in nature. Some theories of leadership, however, make it plain that leadership is not management and a manager is not a leader but merely a position of authority, whereas many management theories share the opinion that leadership is part of the management role. However, we should note that being a good manager does not mean being a good leader, and being a good leader does not translate to being a good manager.
The idea that a manager's attitude has an impact on employee motivation was originally proposed by Douglas McGregor, a management professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology during the 50s and 60s. McGregor proposes two theories by which managers perceive and address employee motivation. He referred to these methods as Theory X and Theory Y management. Each assumes that the manager's role is to organise resources, including people, to best benefit the company. However, the attitudes and assumptions of these are quite different. According to McGregor, Theory X management assumes the following. Work is inherently distasteful to most people and they will attempt to avoid it wherever possible. Most people are not ambitious, have little desire for responsibility and prefer to be directed. Most people have little aptitude for creativity and solving organisational problems. Motivation only occurs at the physiological and security levels of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Most people are self-centred. As a result, they will be closely controlled and often coerced to achieve organisational objectives. Most people resist change. Most people are gullible and unintelligent. Essentially, Theory X assumes that the primary source of employee motivation is monetary, with security as a strong second. McGregor makes the point that a command and control environment is not effective because it relies on lower needs for motivation, but in modern society those needs are mostly satisfied and thus no longer motivating. In this situation, no one would expect employees to dislike their work, avoid responsibility and have no interest in organisational goals, resist change, etc., creating in effect a self-fulfilling prophecy. To McGregor, a steady supply of motivation seemed more likely to occur under Theory Y management. In strong contrast to Theory X, Theory Y management makes the following assumptions. Work can be as natural as play if the conditions are favourable. People will be self-directed and creative to meet their work and organisational objectives if they're committed to them. People will be committed to their quality and productivity objectives if rewards are in a place that address higher needs such as self-fulfilment. The capacity for creativity throughout organisations spreads. Most people can handle responsibility because creativity and ingenuity are common in the population. Under these conditions, people will seek responsibility. Under these assumptions, there is an opportunity to align personal goals with organisational goals by using the employee's own need for fulfilment as the motivator. McGregor stressed that Theory Y does not imply a soft approach. McGregor recognised that some people may not have reached the level of maturity assumed by Theory Y and may initially need tighter controls that can be relaxed as the employee develops. If Theory Y holds true, an organisational place can apply the following principles of scientific management to improve employee motivation: decentralisation and delegation, job enlargement, participative management, performance appraisals. If properly implemented, such an environment can increase and continually fuel motivation as employees work to satisfy their higher level personal needs through their jobs.
Contingency theory. The essence of contingency theory, according to Dr. Spo, 2006, is that best practices depend on the contingencies of the situation. Builder created the contingency model during the 1960s. He was a scientist who studied the personality and characteristics of leaders. His model indicates that there is no one best style of leadership and found that a leader's effectiveness is purely based on the situation that he or she is faced with. The model focuses on one, leadership style, and two, situational favourableness. Fielder's first step is identifying a particular leadership style. He believed that leadership style is fixed and to be measured using a scale that he developed, most commonly known as his preferred co-worker. The scale asks the user to think about someone who you least enjoy working with. You then rate how you feel about them by using a scale with the numbers 1 to 8. His findings were that if you score high, you're most likely to be a relationship-oriented leader. If you score low, you're more likely to be a task-oriented leader. A relationship-oriented leader is more positive and can focus more on building relationships with others. They're good at avoiding and managing conflict and have the ability to make complex decisions. A task-oriented leader is someone who has a more negative outlook on their position. However, they're able to complete tasks quickly because relationships are seen as a low priority. Builder then looks at situational favourableness by using 3 key factors such as leader-member relations, task structure, leader, position, power. To be a successful leader, different characteristics matter in different circumstances. However, you can learn to be an effective leader. To be an effective leader, you need to understand the various approaches of leadership so that you can use the right approach in the situation that you're in. Best leaders are those who can use many different behavioural styles at appropriate times. Leadership theories focus on traits, behaviour, the power influence approach in the situation, and there are various types of leader, which are charismatic, traditional, situational, appointed, functional, and principle-centred leader. Dr. Stephen Covey's view of leadership is based on the idea that effectiveness in a social role such as management depends upon how far a person adheres to certain principles of behaviour. This is referred to as principle-centred leadership. Within this, there are 4 principles which he deems to be imperative within leadership and management in which people should align their values to. These are trustworthiness, trust, empowerment, and alignment. Several theories of leadership or management style have tended to be expressed as people-orientated versus task-orientated format. This relates back to McGregor's X and Y theory of management and suggests that managers and leaders have a choice between authoritarian or democratic style. This approach was developed by John Adair and is based on the theory that leadership is more a question of appropriate behaviour than of personality or of being in the right place at the right time. Cole and Kelly believe that to be a successful leader, managers are likely to need a variety of cognitive, interpersonal, and technical skills.
Within management, organisation and planning must be carefully considered and applied to the role. Serto defines this process as determining what work is needed to accomplish the goal, assigning those tasks to individuals, and arranging those individuals in a decision-making framework. A properly implemented organisation process should result in a working environment where all team members are aware of their responsibilities, and this would reflect the capabilities of an efficient and effective manager. In general, organisation process consists of 5 steps. Reflect on plans and objectives, establish major tasks, divide tasks into subtasks, allocate resources and directives for subtasks, and evaluate results of organising strategy. As a competent manager and practitioner within the field of CLD, it is relevant to understand the importance of planning, organising and managing resources. These competences of CLD should be considered in conjunction with the definition of a competent CLD worker, effective manager and competent leader.
For this video, 2 different managers from different practice settings within CLD would ask the same questions in relation to management, leadership and organisation. Darren Gillan was interviewed as he's a manager with Paisley's YMCA. In addition, Mary Flanagan, who's a manager with the North Lanarkshire Council's Community Line Development Team based in Motherwell, was also interviewed. We asked both managers, what characteristics do you think are important in a manager? What makes a manager for me is someone who's open to ideas from who they manage. The manager should champion those ideas without feeling threatened, and it's helpful to keep an open mind and consider ideas from various staff members as you may find solutions from other perspectives than your own.
A manager should have good communication skills, have competence in the job you're managing, have honesty with their staff, have empathy and have confidence in their own ability.
Do you think there are differences between being a manager and being a leader, and which do you think is more important? I think that differences between a manager and a leader are massive. A manager is appointed by hierarchy and not the workforce, whereas a leader is, and that's important. A manager can be controlling and there are consequences when staff don't comply. However, a leader is naturally selected and therefore people will naturally follow. I think a leader can produce better productivity in a workforce than a manager can, and I think that being a leader in most cases is more important as they are inspirational, supportive, and both the leader and employee are in sync with regards to values and the work that needs to be done.
I think they are different as managers work with people and leaders have people follow them. I would say being a manager is more important. I believe a manager is more important as it's better to work with people and have them buy into your vision and be part of its success or failure than merely follow your orders.
Do you think people are born to lead or do you think it can be taught? I think that all people can be a leader and it's about tapping into oneself at a particular time within a circumstance. It's something that can be taught and refined with further development will always help no matter how small the seed. It's all about confidence, belief and drive.
I believe leaders are made and not born. You learn the skills associated with being a leader through life skills and professional development.
How do you prioritise workload when managing staff? It's different for everyone, however I prioritise workload to deadlines, first for funding, project reports and things that are tied to my role remit that only I can do. I manage the staff needs as and when it comes, and to be honest it's mostly recreationary and I will pick up on other staff issues over support and supervision every 8 weeks.
I have a trusted to-do list and prioritise what's urgent and what's important. I make sure that I review my workload regularly, have regular meetings with my team, set realistic deadlines and be flexible and adaptable.
Do you think motivating staff is important, and if so, how do you do it? Yes, staff motivation to me is paramount. Without a motivated team, we wouldn't be able to facilitate good youth and community work, and frontline service users would notice this and vote with their feet. I try to motivate staff by being as flexible as I can towards their personal and professional needs. I always tell my staff that I trust them and believe in them and therefore give them personal ownership of their workload to lead the way.
I think that motivation is vital for a good team performance. To motivate my staff, I make sure that I am a good communicator and communicate well with them. I'm approachable and available to them. I empower staff through delegated duties. I encourage joint work and teamwork. I set clear goals and targets. I encourage new ideas and approach and don't punish failure. And I offer staff development opportunities.
To be a competent practitioner and manager within the field of CLD, it's important that the values and principles of CLD Scotland are acknowledged and adhered to. It is interesting to see the difference in answers from a manager within a charitable non-profit organisation and those from a manager within a local government. However, it is also noticeable that both sets of answers are informed by the competencies and values. Both managers acknowledge similar characteristics that make a good manager, and both differentiate between the role of a leader and the role of a manager.
Based on their answers, it could be argued that Dan follows a theory Y approach to management, while Mary perhaps follows somewhere between X and Y. Dan has conveyed a more relaxed approach to management, as he stated that he's happy to let his staff get on with their own work independently and review every 8 weeks. Whilst Mary does also show characteristics of this approach, her answers suggest that she's more involved in the work her staff does and has much more regular meetings. While acknowledging that there's a difference between management and leadership, from Dan's answer, it's clear he believes that situational leadership is relevant within a managerial role. Mary's answers, however, suggest that she doesn't regard a leader and a manager in the same way and believes that the attributes of a manager to be more effective than those of leadership. Darren and Mary's answers have both shown that they understand the importance of working collaboratively with their staff to achieve the end goal, and that forming relationships with their staff is vital to being successful within the role.
By adopting a more relaxed approach to managing his staff's individuals' work, Darren has shown that he facilitates and promotes empowerment by encouraging his staff to take responsibility and ownership of their own projects, and he respects the work they do and their opinions and ideas. Both Darren and Mary explain how they can organise and manage within their role, but it's evident that their approaches to this differ. Overall, and regardless of the organisation in which they work, both managers have conveyed to their answers an understanding and knowledge of the CLD competencies and have expressed their own managerial style.